What's up, guys? So I've been in kind of a thrash mood the last week or so I'm gonna do like a recommendations video, but to make it more interesting, these are gonna be 10 different bands or 10 different albums from 10 different countries, so this seemed like a cool idea, so why not? But first we are listening to Angelus Empita. This is their self-titled record from 2021 on Century Media. Awesome stuff from Spain. If I had one nitpick, there's a couple moments, there's some kind of weird clean vocals that don't really work, but besides that, it's pretty good, like kind of Slayer-ish thrash, but yep, good stuff. Not my favorite record by them, but most of the ones are awesome, so yep, check it out. Angelus Empita, self-titled 2023, not 21. Alright, so of course we gotta start with Germany because it's me. So this is Violent Force with Malevolent Onslaught of Tomorrow. So these guys are one of those bands where they made one album in the late 80s and then broke up and they never did anything afterward, which I'm kind of glad. I'd rather have one killer album than like several that kind of suck, so at least they made one good one and said see ya, but yep. So this is definitely, I would say, on the more like speed metal trajectory post like their darker stuff, so it doesn't sound like Creator or Sodom. It's definitely closer to like Holy Moses and Living Death, so definitely that's kind of bands that post like the more evil sound, but yep. Great vocals, awesome riffs, I love the guitar tone on this one, super crunchy, clear, fast riffs, awesome vocals, but anyway, there's the front. The artwork kind of sucks, but oh well. Guys in the band, you can definitely tell they are thrashed by that band photo. Put out on, this is a High Roller Records reissue. It says 87 through Roadrunner. I'm not sure if that's correct, but maybe. I'm surprised it wouldn't be through Noise, but oh well. And then here's the insert. Not sure what that is. Just a kind of weird looking picture. Here are the lyrics, and then the band collage. And then it's from High Rollers, so you know they have a giant poster, but not going to bother pulling that out. And we've got another band photo. And then just on black, I like those labels though, it's pretty sweet. So yeah, man, definitely one of the better, like, I guess you could say second tier records from Germany, outside your like Creators and Songs and Destructions and all those guys, but yeah. If you know your late 80s stuff from Germany, I would say they're definitely one of the more well-known, like, one-and-dones. But yeah. Great record, definitely one of the best from this scene. It gets talked about, but I don't think enough. Like, even the first Assassin, I think, gets more attention than this record. I'm not really sure why that is, but oh well. Maybe because of the not very great cover art, and the first Assassin has that awesome artwork, so it definitely helps, but yep. Check it out. Violent Force, Malevolent Assault of Tomorrow. Alrighty. Going to the US for this next pick. So this is Viking with Man of Straw. So in my like thrash classics video I did a few months ago, I mentioned their debut, but this one I think is definitely my preferred of their first two, which they did a third album like 25 years later, but I haven't bothered with that one. I'm assuming it's not very good because a lot of the times when thrash bands come back, it kind of isn't that great. But yep, definitely there was I think a good difference between like LA thrash and Bay Area. The LA is definitely more evil sounding. I mean, because you have Slayer and Dark Angel, for example, opposed to like Testament or Death Angel, which are a little bit more melodic. Though say this is the one oddball because they were from up north too, so they're definitely an exception to the rule. But yep. Great records. If you like Dark Angel especially, it's almost like a mixture of Don and Ron Reichert combined into one singer. Listen to opening White Death is definitely the best song on here. Twilight Face, Curse of the Stubborns, Hell's for Children, which is an awesome cover. I don't remember who did that originally, but I actually like that cover pretty good amount too. So there you go. Kind of goofy artwork, but oh well. In the back, guys in the band, again another High Roller reissue, so it comes with the same stuff. So picture of the dudes, the lyrics, and then got the poster. And then, is that it? Yeah, surprise, it doesn't come with an order sheet. Those usually do, but I guess some of these new reissues, they do not have that, but... Oh well, that doesn't really make a big, because a lot of those, most of the time, those are kind of like outdated anyway, because this is from a few years ago, so... Oh well, I guess we'll see what happens, so yeah. Again, if you like stuff like Dark Angels, it's definitely one of the better, less popular albums in that style. Anyway, check it out. Viking, Man of Straw. Let's go to Brazil. Arguably first wave black metal, but it's definitely more on the thrashy side. So this is Volcano with Bloody Vengeance. I meant first wave death metal, not black metal, but oh well. So like I said, their debut record, I'm honestly not familiar with anything after this, mainly because they have a bunch and several of them aren't very highly regarded as far as like reviews, which you can take that with a grain of salt, but still, it's kind of like, everyone always says this is the best one, but yep. So if you like the stuff from Gamera Records in the mid and late 80s, you definitely know what this sounds like. It definitely has that sound. It's like First Sarcophago, Holocausto, Sepultura, Mutilator, stuff like that. Definitely one of the better records from that scene, which Gamera rules, but a lot of those records are kind of hard to find because they're pretty expensive and pricey, but oh well. Anyway, those are fun. I love that painting. It's pretty sweet. In the back, guys in the band. I believe their first album was actually a live record, which is pretty weird to have a live album before you even did a full length, but oh well. And then lyrics and another collage. So excluding Sepultura, my favorite Brazilian thrash record's probably Iron RI, but again, it's borderline first wave black metal, but oh well. Same man, awesome, fast, almost kind of deathy, or proto-death thrash from 88 or 87, so definitely ahead of its time, but if you know your Brazilian metal, this is definitely one of the more popular albums from that scene, so check it out, Volcano, Bloody Vengeance. And I forgot to mention a couple of these are newer bands, because I didn't know any like old school albums from this scene. This is definitely one of them. So going to Norway, so you know what that means. Bow down to the Death Hammer. So this is Chained to Hell. Yeah, Chained to Hell. This is from 2017. This is when this came out. It seemed like it was that time. So yep. Death Hammer, definitely one of the better, newer thrash bands. I say new, even though their debut was like 15 plus years ago, but that's new as far as I can say with thrash, but yep. So to compare them to something, I would say it's like, if Destruction was from Brazil instead of Germany, I guess it's definitely a good comparison, because they have some of the like, fuck you attitude of the Brazilian bands, but they also definitely have a lot of the riffy style and like structures of the other Destruction stuff. So I think like, Sentence of Death and Infernal Overkill definitely in that vein of post like the like Release from Agony or whatever, but yep. I'm sure if you pay attention to like newer thrash, they're definitely one of the better bands playing in this style. So anyway, there's the front. I love the logo too with the upside down cross. It's pretty sweet. And then back, put out through HH. I believe where I got this from, but don't quote me. I think yeah. Anyway, just say, killing for pleasure, death is my reward. As the blood comes down on you, your God exists no more. Pretty fitting. You can tell by the guys what style of metal this is. It's not really pretty obvious. It's gonna sound like. Where's the lyrics? The lyrics, and then again, the two dudes. They played MDF last year, and if I went, they would have been one of the bands I really wanted to see because they look like an awesome live band. And this one's like they call, I think, the Norwegian flag edition or something like that, but I know there's a bunch of different variants of this one, but like I said, it's put out through HH, so definitely not hard to find, but yeah, man. Hard to pick a favorite from Death Hammer. All the records are killer, but this is probably my favorite one, mainly because it was the first one I heard, so it's like the first album you hear is usually your favorite still, but yeah. There you go. Death Hammer, Chained to Death. Again, if you like stuff like Early Destruction, any of the early Brazilian stuff. Definitely one of the better new bands playing that style. Let's go to Switzerland for this one. This is one of the couple that's definitely, I would say, like arguably kind of death metal sounding, but it's nice. I think it has enough like foot and thrash for me to include it, so why not? This is Messiah with Choir of Horrors. So this came out in 1991, I believe. So yep, arguably the like golden year for death metal, but you can definitely tell they're like thrashy. They were definitely thrashy early on. They got more and more death metal sounding, but to me, there's still like plenty of like thrash on this to be included. I would say it's like probably 65% thrash and 45% death metal, so definitely more like thrash, but you know what I mean. So yep, this is their third full length. The second one, their most famous, is Extreme Cold Weather, mainly because of that polar bear, and I forget their first one was like Hymn to Opprobrio or something like that. I know it was Hymn to something. That one's kind of not very good, but this one I think is definitely their peak. But anyway, like I said, they're from Switzerland, not a very popular place of thrash. Obviously, it's more known for like modern black metal, especially the Helvetic underground communities. Like definitely would like put Switzerland on the map as far as extreme stuff, but they definitely had it going back in the day. Because I mean, obviously, you Celtic Frost and Hellhammer too, though. So, oh well. But anyway, there's the front. There's the back. Again, HH. I didn't realize how much of these are from. Not HH. High Roller, I mean. So, poster of the album cover, but you already know what that looks like. Is that it? Wow, surprised it only comes with the poster, nothing else. Is bizarre for them, but oh well. Just black vinyl, so I'm not gonna bother pulling that out. But yeah, man, if you like your thrash on the more deathy side, definitely check it out. Hard to compare them to anybody, because they definitely have their own unique sound. Like, they don't sound Floridian, they don't sound French, they don't sound like American. They definitely have their own unique sound, maybe because of their location. But yep, check it out. Messiah, Choir of Horrors. Alright, done with the LPs, let's go to some CDs. So let's go to, what should we do next? Let's go to the UK, which is definitely a thrash scene. I see get kind of like shit on because they're not very original, but oh well. So this is Slammer, let me pull this out. So I believe they're only full length, or maybe they had one after this. I think they were one and done, but don't quote me. So this is Slammer, the work of idle hands. So this is, I think, a little bit late to the party. This was 89 or 90, so around the same time the first Zentrix record came out. So definitely in that style, but I still think the first Zentrix is better, but that's definitely a more well-known record. I want to post some stuff that's less obvious for this video, so yep. Favorites on here is probably, it's probably Born for War. The closing song's definitely the best one on here. Kind of, I would say, a little bit melodic-ish, but still pretty thrashy, but it's definitely more like your Testament or Forbidden style of thrash compared to like Sadus or whatever. But the UK bands weren't really known for being like more extreme. They were definitely more known for being a little bit more melodic. But anyway, great record. I know it's not an original, but still good stuff regardless though. So there you go. Slammer, the work of idle hands. Let's go to Denmark, another kind of borderline deathy one, but to me it's definitely more thrash. So this is Invocator with Excursion Demise, or Demise rather, so I've not heard anything after this album, so... Actually, no, that's true, I've heard the second record, that was good too, but it got a little bit, like, groovier, and apparently after that they became, like, a full-on groove metal band, so no thank you, I'm good. So this, I would say, is, like, a more death metal version of Coroner, so if you want a more, like, death metal version of Punishment for Decadence, definitely a good comparison for this. But yep, again, Denmark, definitely not a country known for thrash, but that was a cool thing about back in the day. Like, you had bands coming out from places not really known for that style or known for metal until later, because obviously they became more well known for like the Killtown death metal stuff like Uno Gang and all those guys. But yep, this is the, and this version also has the demos, which is pretty sweet. It's like a double CD thing. Let me show you that. So There's the second one with the demos and the actual album, but you'll be seeing this again when I do my Thrash collection. But yeah, man, Invocator definitely on the more technical side, but if you like corner but you want a more extreme, awesome record. Check it out. Invocator, Excretion Demise. Alright, this is the last modern one. Going to Chile. Critical Defiance with no life form. So they are definitely, Chile is one of the like better places for newer thrash, better countries rather. So like with these guys and Hellish are definitely two of the better ones, but I think Critical Defiance are definitely the leading band for that style, or for that country rather. So compare them to something, I would say honestly this sounds a lot like Rigor Mortis, which a lot of like newer bands, you don't really hear like any bands trying to like do the Rigor Mortis style, but then you can definitely hear the influence, especially in the vocals. They sound a lot like Freaks era, so if you like that kind of like, not death thrash, almost like brutal thrash that isn't death metal influence, if that makes any sense. So it definitely sounds like that. But yeah, man, awesome record. They have only, I think, 3 full-lengths so far. This one I still think is their best, but I know some people didn't like the new one. I kind of see why, because there was a couple moments that were kind of weird, but I still think the new one was pretty good though. But this one I still think is their high watermark. So there you go, check it out. Critical Defiance, No Life Forms. Your last 2 were done. So going to Greece, another country not known for thrash. So this is Flames with Summon the Dead. So these guys, they definitely became more death metal later on. Like they pretty much ditched thrash altogether. Like they've changed quite a bit. Their first album was like thrashy heavy metal kind of, but then later on they basically ditched the heavy metal. This one is more like just straightforward kind of evilish thrash, and then after this they became more like death thrash. Definitely interesting changes of style throughout the discography, but all the stuff I've heard by them is awesome. So this one I still think is their best though. This is their second record, I believe, second or third. Came out in 1987, which I've said before is my favorite year of thrash, which go watch that video, shameless plug. But anyway, see, man, awesome record. I don't think people talk enough about Flames, at least on YouTube they don't, but maybe because of the changes of style. But yeah, man, awesome, just kind of evilish thrash from Greece. So check it out. Flames, Summon the Dead. Your last one is kind of cheating, because you can make an argument as death metal, and I would see your point, but to me it's more like evil, fast death thrash. So closing this video with Maze of Torment. This is Hammers of Mayhem. So no, I didn't name my channel after this. I named it after the Morbid Angel song, obviously. But so these guys are from Sweden, if I did not mention that. So another country is more known for like, well, their thrash is definitely more death metal, like Defleshed or later Merciless, which those bands are definitely, I would say, death metal. But these guys are like those bands, but definitely on the thrashier side though. Of those 3, my favorite is definitely Defleshed, though Unbound by Merciless I think is the best album by any of these 3 bands, but that's another debate for another day. Great record. So if you want like Slayer picked up to the next level, this is definitely what this sounds like. So it's like Slayer on crack. Great shit, man. All their albums are awesome, but this one I still think is their best though. So this came out in 2003, so definitely a newer one, but I guess 22 years isn't that new anymore. But anyway, it was also produced by Peter Taglin's brother, which is sweet. So there you go. Maze of Torment, Hammers of Mayhem. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Next time I'm either going to do another like big 4 ranking thing like I did for my German thrash scene, but it'll be a different scene that I think a lot of you guys will enjoy that one. So it's either going to be that or another CD collection. I haven't decided which I'll do next, but we'll see. Thanks for watching. Take care. Hails.